I had more than a thought rather than a question regarding the individual currency or identity currency IC. Once regarding this concept about each individual will be able to issue their own currency and transfer it to an entity or a model or a group or someone else that they trust. This is I would say, very libertarian vision, if I may put it this way. But do you think that people are responsible enough to take care of their own individual assets this way? Because libertarian freedom also comes with responsibility by the user. And here I would like to know how Latium is going also to help on this responsibility of the user.
Sure. Well, that's a very valid question. The answer is that there will be people that are responsible, and there will be people that won't be responsible, as there is in the world. Any economy, any society is a reflection of all participants that are involved in that process. So, as you have qualified people, as you have diligent people, they'll find value. If you have people that are not hardworking, that don't care about what they're doing, that don't have risk aversion, they're going to make mistakes and they're going to pay the price for that. But that's already happening in the world. That's how every society. It doesn't matter if it's a full-blown socialism. At the end of the day, the whole country suffers for the individual's actions, right? That's how socialism works. So in a free market society, you have the ability to acquire assets based on your ability to perform. In a socialism, everyone suffers at the cause of the mean. So I don't see anything that we're doing there is any different. In that, yeah, there will be examples on both sides. I think that the goal here is to teach, or should I say, help model towards responsibility through benefit. So as someone is a better actor, they see the benefits of that, and you're kind of training the model of responsible thinking, which I believe is one of the problems that we have in society today. Is more along the lines of access, and access is a derivative of knowledge. So when you look at, say, something like an area here in the U.S. where you have a lot of poverty, one of the biggest problems in those areas is lack of access to knowledge. So responsibility isn't taught. That breeds poverty. Poverty breeds crime, and so you have this cycle. So I think that giving people the options to be able to do something for themselves, totally independent of everything else, totally independent of company structures, government structures, that ultimately the pattern of learning should follow responsibility over time.
Yeah, but you just mentioned also independency from governments. But I understand the Latium theory behind, which is taken as granted, and it's robust. But for instance, if I see like in Europe, in France, for instance, my native country, I see some people, they even need the government help to, for instance, help them to save money, to put money aside every month. So
Sure.
it's very hard for me to imagine that we will be able, that every people will be educated enough for their own sake to be more responsible themselves.
Well, that's a valid point, and the answer to that is that the whole, right, supports the weaker units, as it already does in any society. And like I said, socialism is a very good example of that, and that is that there's a level of people that probably are not participating at the level of other people. They're kind of getting drugged along by the people that are participating. The same thing is true with this economy. As it grows out, you have the ability to have nonprofit organizations. You have the ability to gift, right? So these were the early thought processes before governments took over doing this in the U.S. We actually had a pretty good outpouring of charity before the government took on that role. So before we had food stamps and policies like this, you had churches, you had nonprofit organizations that were taking on that role. So I believe that people have the ability to form these types of situations outside of government. And most of the time, they run more efficiently. It's really hard to compare government efficiency with private interest. Private interest is normally very motivated. Government interest, although there are good participants within the government. I'm not trying to say that all participants in the government are bad, but there's definitely you're removing incentive for good participation when you're in the government. The accountability is always less because there's not direct correlation between your actions and the consequences. So I believe private interest is always a better driving factor for society as a whole, not just from a capitalist standpoint, but also for the betterment of mankind. Because I think ultimately, mankind being better is better for everyone.